Welcome to a special edition of the Arizona Project. Serving Arizona since 2009, defending Arizona, America, and fellow citizens against leftism, liberalism, and the deep state. And now, here's your host, Ronald Others.
I thought I was Uncle Ronnie on...
You are Uncle Ronnie.
Okay, now let's talk like it's Uncle Ronnie. Welcome to the show. It's a beautiful Monday, and guess what? The temperatures are still about 115 degrees.
I can't believe how hot it is. This
How
is crazy.
hot is it?
And you know what? It's very humid too. Do you feel
It is.
how thick the air is? We're not used to this.
No, not this
in Arizona.
humid.
No.
Usually when we get the humidity this time of year, there's a little bit of moisture in it. It may not fall where we're at.
Well, you
but
know,
it
normally
usually
we get the monsoons in, the rains come in, and then it kind of cools down a little bit. But nothing like that.
Hey, let me tell you who we have here tonight. You'll probably see it at the bottom of your screen. We have Ray Michaels.
Hello, everyone.
And he's been our host on Straight Talk.
Oh, we got some of those from
We got
last
some
Friday.
Straight Talk from last week.
We had so much fun.
And then we have Benjamin Wick, and he's here tonight. He's one tough cookie. He's not only a wrestling coach, and
Yes.
and you don't mess with wrestling coaches.
No.
believe me. And when he tells you something, you better listen. And he's going to talk to us tonight about the United States Constitution. And you are going to be surprised at how
Uncle Ronnie,
little you know about it.
I have been so excited about this. You know, we met just last week, and so much knowledge, so much information. And you have to stick around because this is going to be a fantastic show.
But first, we're going to do a little housekeeping here. Now,
Wait, you didn't say I had to clean anything.
get the wash bucket.
Okay.
Listen, I want to tell everybody in Phoenix, you've got a mission that you must attend to. You must call the mayor's office here in Phoenix, Arizona, because what they're thinking about doing is the road going to the capital, Washington. They're talking about painting Black Lives Matter on the road.
No.
And the city council, of course, this city unfortunately is run basically by Democrats. The mayor is a very radical Democrat, and she wants to make sure that we understand that Black Lives Matter. Of course, everybody does know that. Everyone's life matters, and I don't know why they're trying to do it here, because Arizona doesn't have that problem. We're a state on the border, and we have lots and lots and lots of dark-skinned people from south of the border, which is Mexico. They're not Negroes, but they are dark people, not unlike my co-host here.
I'm just out in the sun a lot.
I know, and I'm not. Look
Now,
at me.
you know, the one thing that I want the audience to do is to go to the website, Black Lives Matter website, because there's really two completely separate things that we need to consider. Number one is, do we all agree that Black Lives Matter? Absolutely,
Yes.
100%, we all agree. But the organization, Black Lives Matter, is not the same as understanding that Black Lives Matter. So please go to their website and look at what they stand for.
Marxism.
I think you're going to be surprised because it's not what you think. So, yes, there's two different things that we need to consider. They're very, very different, and they're very, very separate, and not all Black lives on this side agree with the actual organization of what Black Lives Matter is. So please look it up, read it for yourself. No matter what Uncle Ronnie and I say, you're not going to believe it. You have to go
Until you
there,
look it up.
look at it for yourself, look it up. Be a good citizen.
And it's a shame, because we don't need that in America. Of course, we believe in equality of opportunity, not the equality of outcome. But it's really a shame when you start dividing the community up.
It seems like everything we have to be divided. You know, you're in this group, you're in this group. No, I want to be an American.
We're Americans.
It doesn't matter what
Notice
group.
right here. It says America.
Yes. And you know what it says? It says we the people.
people.
It doesn't say we the separate groups. It's we the people. And that's why we're so excited to have you here today, Benjamin. This
Okay,
is
I'm
be awesome.
going to
Good
talk
evening.
just about a couple of more things before we jump in here. Benjamin's warming up in the bullpen, but what we've done here, and it's been a long time in coming because of COVID, but we have what we call Trump Fridays. And it's an exciting group of people that support the president. And we get together at a local place, and this one is El Capo. And what does El Capo mean?
El Capo. The cop?
Not Capo.
No, that's, oh, okay,
Capo.
that's not it.
At
Okay.
any rate, it means the boss.
It is the boss.
And it's a local pizza parlor.
And
It's run,
James is the boss.
James is the boss.
He's the owner there.
What a
Great
wonderful
guy.
place that is. The food is absolutely phenomenally
It really,
delicious.
really is.
The pizzas are something that's out of this world. I've never quite had one like that. I really, really liked it.
And you know, it's so casual because you just come in, you go, you come, you sit down, you go outside, you go
Everybody's
to the bar,
friendly.
You go inside. Oh, it's so much fun.
People don't argue and they
Hey,
just sit
you,
down. And,
you were there when we were seated there, and a gentleman came up with his little girl, and he said, "What are you guys doing here?" And we said, "We're supporting Trump." And he says, "That's fantastic. I support Trump too." And the daughter, do you remember the daughter? Yes, Donald Trump, we love him. It was so much fun. It was great. I think he's going to be there this Friday now.
and one of the things we're going to do, you were interviewing many of the people
Yeah.
for Street Talk. And it's one of our little exclusive things that we do. In Street Talk, we have a number of people, 13 or 14. We're not going to show them all tonight. But during the break, Mr. O'Connor will show one of the Street Talk interviews and then another one at the next break. And they're just marvelous. People just have a good time. And I can't even explain it. So if you want to have a good time this Friday, go to El Capo's. And I'm going to give you the address. So get your pencils and paper ready. That's Friday the 28th. It starts at 6 o'clock till 9. You can come anytime. People come and go. It's nothing that, there's attendance is not taken.
Nope, not at all.
And so
But
it's,
you know what? You're going to see a lot of people running for office
oh
as
yeah,
well.
yeah.
Yeah.
The lady that
Lisa
was
Borowski,
running
she came.
running for mayor.
Yeah, Mayor of Scottsdale, she
Of
was there.
Scottsdale. We've had many people running for Congress there in the last couple of weeks.
Yes, we have.
Some congressmen, a lot of state representatives and senators. It's
Yeah,
just
David
a marvelous time.
Schweiger was there last week.
Right. It's
Yeah.
one of the times, and he's a congressman, and it's one of the times where you can really just sit down with your congressman. It's nothing formal.
Not at all. Everybody's approachable. It's so much fun. It
And
really is.
I've taken some of those opportunities to say, David, that's our congressman. David, I disagree with you on what you did in this vote. And he'd say, why? And I'd tell him, and sometimes he'd say, I see your point, or, well, we agree to disagree. But listen, that's what our form of government's about. People throw the ideas on the table and you discuss them.
And he does represent you. I mean, you as an individual.
Yes,
He
in the
represents all of our elected representatives represent you. There's no reason why you shouldn't be able to approach them and tell them exactly how you feel.
Yes. So at any rate, pencils and paper are now ready in your hand. Write
Got
this
it.
down, 7366
7366 East
East Shea Boulevard,
Shea Boulevard. So that is just east of
Scottsdale Road.
on Shea.
Okay, and it's Suite 102, Scottsdale, Arizona, 85260. And we will be there. Mr. O'Connor will be there with camera, and Neil will be there. I will be there, and of course our host, Ray. He's the only
I can
one that
go?
you're the only one that people know. I mean, the rest of us are behind the scenes. And one of the neat things, Mr. O'Connor's going to bring a huge monitor, so this time the entire crowd can see what's going on in the interviews. It's going to
That'll
be
be
really
awesome.
exciting.
You know,
And
when I talked to the congressman, the only thing we disagreed on is who is going to be paying the bill.
did you get stuck with it?
Yes, and I disagreed firmly that I shouldn't be taking care of it.
Listen, the other thing right now, tonight, and last week at this same time, we were talking to you about the clown show. And that was the Democrat convention, and it turned into a clown show, believe me. If you happen to watch it, I would not watch it because it's a bunch of socialists, a bunch of really radical people that are jumping around and doing a lot of things. But tonight, it was already exciting when it started. I listened to some of the starts. We actually had a Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States, in which the word "under God" was left in it. Last week, the Democrats put the words "under God" and took them out of the Pledge of Allegiance.
Well,
So-
you know, I posted that. I posted that on my Facebook page, Ray Michaels, the number 4 AZ. And
he's running for the state senate, ladies and
State
gentlemen.
Senate, LD24.
One more plug.
Yeah, well, you know, got to do that. So it was actually not the DNC didn't omit it, but it was two caucuses within the DNC. So two specific caucuses removed under God.
Words under God.
Right,
Of our
but
pledge.
the DNC actually did not. So I just want to make sure that everybody knows that that's what
Well,
it
they
is. Two
have
caucuses.
done that last time. But
They have, yes, but
They
not
have
this
done that.
time. So if anybody does go back and they review it, you're going to hear under God this time, but two caucuses did not.
This is a problem this is part of the problem that we are facing right now. And last week, through all the speeches, particularly the last speech by the puppet man, Puppet Joe, is that they want to eliminate God. And in the prophet Isaiah, chapter 5, verse 20, he talks about this in conjunction with the nation of Israel, but that woe to those who call darkness light and light darkness, and who
one of my favorite scriptures.
substitute bitter for sweet and sweet
Sweet
for
for
bitter, and who substitute what is right for what is wrong.
Right.
And that is where we're at today.
They
People do not know.
Yeah, they
that-
did actually talk about the light and the darkness.
Yes,
Yeah.
only they got them confused.
Yeah.
And in the book of Isaiah, Isaiah starts each of those sentences with "Woe unto them
Yes.
that call good evil and evil good." And
Yes.
it goes on, and everything is a woe. And
Whoa.
this is one of the things I think that the Democrats are noted for, is saying things that aren't true. I'll give you a real quick example, and I want to go through a couple things. We're going to get right into this. Back about 3 years ago, maybe 3.5 years ago, there was a demonstration in Charlottesville, and there was it became, there were neo-Nazis there, there were white supremacists, Ku Klux Klan, and there were a lot of just ordinary people there as well. They want to make it sound like everybody there was a white extremist, but it wasn't. And so Biden, in his acceptance speech, was saying one of the reasons he decided to run is because the president said that both sides had good people on them. And of course he says, well, there is no good people on the Nazi side or the Ku Klux Klan. That's not what the president said.
But that's been debunked over
I know,
and
but
over
he said
and
it.
over again.
He said it on
I
national
know.
television. What he really said, with the exception of the Klan, with the exception of the Nazis, there were good people on either side of the demonstration.
Well, they were there demonstrating to take down a
Take
statue.
down the statue,
Right.
Confederate
So
statue.
the people who were saying, yes, take it down, the people who were saying, no, don't take it down, there's good on both sides. They both have an argument that he can
And
understand.
yet the Democrats led you to believe that Trump was saying that the neo-Nazis and that the Klan, there were good people amongst them. And there might very well have been. I mean, I don't know what these people's motives, why
Sure.
they would join those things. But at any rate, that was disgusting, and it was sickening that a national party would stand there and lie. I don't know if you saw, but they had fact check. There were 1,716 lies the Democrats told during their convention.
From the fact check.
Yes, from fact check. 1,700 lies.
All right, so everybody go to fact check and watch those 1,700 times that untruth was said.
At any rate, Donald Trump has done a phenomenal job, in my opinion. I just wanted to talk about some of the things that he wanted to do in the upcoming year. 4 years, actually. And he wants to create 10 million new jobs in America in 10 months. Now, that's really going, 1 million jobs a month.
That's 1 million jobs a month.
And then, and this is what I like, Ray. He wants to create 1 million new small businesses in America, provide the opportunity for people to start their own business.
That's where it starts.
Cut taxes to boost take-home pay and keep jobs in America. I can deal with the take-home pay issue.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, then he says to enact fair trade deals that protect American jobs, and that's aimed right directly at China. I had to get some windshield wipers today for my car, even though we don't get any rain. The blades got real.
Right.
And I went in. Mr. O'Connor and I went in there. How about it, Mr. O'Connor? There were about 6 different brands of wipers. Every one of them made in China.
Yes, sir.
I couldn't believe
Probably
it.
at the same factory.
Probably. And then he wants, and I love this, made in America tax credits. Can you believe that?
That's great.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
So the companies that want to make the wipers in America get a tax credit. That's wonderful. Continued deregulation agenda for energy independence. Develop vaccines. I'm not big on this vaccine thing because I always worry about these chips that they keep talking about. And then make all critical medicines and supplies and healthcare products in the United States.
Why not?
And then refill stockpiles prepared for future endemic. So when we have this in the, if you remember, Ray, when this started, and Ben, you remember, we're short of ventilators. Remember that?
I remember them talking about that.
There wasn't one single American that was denied a ventilator. Industry jumped in and started making these things immediately. And nobody was denied a ventilator that needed a ventilator.
Well, there used to be a stockpile, but somebody got rid of them.
Yes, and you know who it was? Cuomo.
Yeah.
Don't get me started on Cuomo. In case you guys don't know how I feel about Cuomo, the guy's a jerk.
Watch last week.
He needs to be thrown out. The guy doesn't have the ability to recognize what he has done. Totally inept. Okay.
Uncle Ronnie, there's one thing you didn't mention, and I think that it's very pertinent, is the opportunity zones. Because that was...
Well, I think that's coming up here.
yeah?
Yeah, I think it's coming up here in the next page. So I wanted to. Oh, you're right. Are you looking over my shoulder?
I'm sorry, I'm just used
Boy,
to doing
somebody
that.
is-
I was taking...
Somebody's got to
Taps
keep you
on
in
me.
line, Ron.
Oh, God. And you're the man. You the man. Okay. Okay. So we got bring back 1 million manufacturing jobs from China.
Wait. Does he have a magic wand?
No.
Somebody...
Now tell us why that's an important statement.
Well, our President Obama said, look, if we can't expect these jobs to come back, they're gone away, they're never going to be coming back. Nobody has a magic wand that they can wave to bring all of these jobs back into America. And President Trump had mentioned that apparently he has a magic wand because he brought them all back.
I can still remember him saying, does Trump have a magic wand? Okay, tax credits for companies that bring back jobs. Okay, I can hardly see this. Cut prescription drug prices. I love that. Hold China. This is one that I love. Hold China fully accountable for allowing the virus to spread to the world.
Well, if you don't know the story about this, they had a big event, the Chinese New Year, where they invited hundreds of thousands of families to eat out in the open. They knew the virus was active. They brought them in, they were serving food, all of these families, and then they went back to their domicile, which a lot of them live in Italy. And so everybody got on a plane and they went back to Italy, and many were infected. So they allowed this to happen. They knew what was going on.
And contrary to public opinion, the Democrats don't want you to know this. The president, even while he was being impeached, he brought back 2 United States Air Force aircraft full of Americans and dropped them off at Air Force bases where they were quarantined. Mm-hmm. This was going on long before. Nobody had died in America.
Well, remember the State of the Union address. He specifically mentioned COVID-19. He specifically mentioned it.
Yes, yeah, he did. That's part of these lies that the Democrats are telling you. Part of these 1,700 lies.
Yeah.
Any rate, cut prescription drug prices, put patents and doctors back in charge of health care. Wow, what a concept.
Wow.
I mean, right now, I hate to say this because I've spent a lot of my time in corporate America, but you don't want corporate America making judgments
No,
for your health. You want
patients-
your own personal doctor to make those
Patients and
decisions.
doctors, yes.
Okay, end surprise billing, cover all pre-existing conditions. Aha, ladies and gentlemen, there are commercials going on, and you've heard them, Ben, every
Yes.
day. Oh, they don't want you to a prescription, you know.
Well, they're hitting Martha McSally about that.
Yeah, but here, it's right here, see it?
I
Cover
know.
all pre-existing conditions.
I know.
And yet they're squawking it. That's something the Republicans don't want. It's right here,
It's
ladies and gentlemen.
just
This
a
is what,
talking point. It's just a talking point. You have to see through that. They're not being honest. Mainstream media is not being honest with you.
yep. And then to protect our veterans and world-class health care and services. Now, on education, this is one thing I really like.
We have a teacher right here.
That's right.
He taught for many
He's a
years.
teacher. What do you think of this? Provide school choice to every child in America.
Yes. I do not believe that education is the government's responsibility. It's the parents
Exactly.
and the children's
And
responsibility.
if you think your child can do better at another school,
you should be
have
allowed
at
to
it.
go.
Have at it. You're the one paying the
Very
freight.
good.
You know, that's the other thing they don't tell you. You're paying the freight.
Yeah, it's our taxpayer dollars.
Okay, and then teach American exceptionalism. I love this. Drain the swamp. Ready for this one?
You know, do you remember?
Bonnie, you'll like this one, I think. Okay. Pass congressional term limits.
Yes, yes,
Yes.
we need term limits.
You know,
100%.
Biden has been in. Biden is the Democrat nominee, as you all probably know. That man has been in Washington, D.C. for half a century.
Yeah.
Half a century.
But now he has the answers.
Yeah.
Now.
He didn't know anything before he.
No.
Was
But
nominated
now,
for
now
president.
he'll do something now.
End bureaucratic government bullying of U.S. citizens and small businesses. We know what that's like.
Yeah.
IRS and so. Expose Washington money trail and delegate power back to the people and states. Drain the globalist swamp by taking international organizations that hurt American citizens. Ready for this? Defend the police. Fully fund, hire more police and law enforcement officers. Increase criminal penalties as assaults on. Increase. I like
that's
this,
easy
but
for
it's
you
a,
to say.
It's a tongue twister. Increase criminal penalties for assaults on police officers.
100%.
And I agree with that. You
100%.
strike a police officer, it's different than striking your neighbor.
Yes.
You're going to spend a little bit of time. Looking at the time here, I just want to move on here so we don't want Ben to fall asleep. He's just stomping at the bit. She's got prompts and everything else over there. And
No,
so
I'm excited.
props, yeah. Any rate, stop endless wars. You know, it's really interesting. A lot of people don't know this. Donald Trump is the first president in 40 years that has not had a war. Well, has not started a war
Interesting.
during his presidency, and he's pulling troops out. I mean, think about
Just like he
that.
promised.
He promised it, and I mean, I saw yesterday where we're signing over some bases in Iraq back to the Iraqis and saying, "Here, take care of things." We're pulling our troops out of Germany after what, 70 years, 75 years, and
The Germans aren't too happy about it.
No, you know why? Because you and I, as taxpayers, are paying for their protection.
Yeah.
Screw them, you know. They're the ones that.
I don't know if I'd go that far, but
Well,
I know what you mean.
I'm kind of, since this is my show, I'll just kind of tell it like it is, right? At any rate, you know, I always like, I have German background. Thank God my family got here in about 1850 on the German side of my family. And I always like to say, brought to you by the people that brought you World War I and World War II. The Germans. Okay, so, you know, that's why we're there. To make sure we don't go into World War III. But I don't think the Germans are going to be in World War III. I think it's going to be China, if there is World War III.
Let's hope not.
And, you know, people talk about Russia, but, you know, they made this big deal out of Russia, you know, early on in the Trump administration. Most people don't realize that Russia has the economy about the size of Texas.
Yeah.
It's a small economy. The only thing that Russia has is a strong military. And economically, you cannot support a war without a big war machine behind supplying you with uniforms, munitions, and everything else. So I just see that they're just a big
Their economy is pretty much based on energy development and sales to
oil.
Europe.
Yeah. And without that, They're,
Yeah.
And Germany's buying a lot of it.
they'll be eating Wiener
Yes.
schnitzels.
Yeah.
Okay, you got it. Okay, I wondered how long it would take to sink in. But at any rate, there's the next one we just talked about. Get their allies to pay their fair share.
Well, yeah, it's.
What a concept! And that's one of the reasons in Germany, Trump went over there, and of course everybody. The reason people don't like Trump is because Trump tells it like it is, and he won't compromise it. He told the Europeans, "Hey, you want defense? You pay for it."
Well, why should we be walked on? Why do we have to foot the bill? Why should our taxpayer money going to defend somebody else and they're not paying their fair share? It doesn't make any sense.
You know, but to be quite honest, Ron, growing up in Phoenix, Arizona, and being here for, I hate to say, but several decades, just hanging out with people and
What do you
talking
mean, you're
to
only
people.
20 years? Are you 20 years old? Couple decades.
Just
They're gas.
That blew him.
just hanging out with people, talking to people is Donald Trump talks like the people that I grew up with
Right.
and the people that I talk around with now. And that's what they don't like. They don't like that he's actually expressing the views of middle America, or the flyover zone, as the elitists like to say.
You're 100% right on that issue, because these people, it's their way because they're the elite.
Yes.
After all, what do we know? We only build America, and we only supply America.
Oh, you
What do
didn't
they
build
know?
that. You didn't build that.
Okay, Obama.
Well, you know what? When Thomas Jefferson and John Adams and Benjamin Franklin wrote the Declaration of Independence, they asked Thomas Jefferson, well, this is a great document. You really had some good ideas. He says, these aren't my ideas. These are the ideas that I just heard just hanging out at the local pub.
Right.
And underneath the tree where people would gather, and this is what Americans are talking about.
And at all the sermons
Yes.
by all those
Yes.
great founding fathers
And
who
at
were
that time, the Black Robe
ordained.
Brigades.
Yeah, Black Regiment. Yeah, Black Robe Regiments. Yeah, it's
Yep,
amazing.
and it's true, and so many of the things we like to think that it was our forefathers that thought of these, but there were some great books. We'll go into this, I'm sure. Magna Carta, and that was already around, and there were some great ideas here, and this was a time, ladies and gentlemen, when most of the world was ruled by royalty,
Right.
monarchs. The United States was. That's why I get mad when they talk about this. What was it, the 15 or 1617 project
they
or
have
whatever the
no,
heck it is?
No idea.
And they keep saying, well, that's when America first started importing slavery. Well, we weren't a country until 1776. There again. Quit giving me the evil eye.
No,
Anyway, 1776. So how could we have anything to do with slavery prior to that? This country was England at the time.
And the idea of self-governance was so far out. It was such a wacky idea that it could never, ever happen.
And it almost did.
But it did.
Almost didn't.
And we're going to learn about it.
We will. And we got, Mr. O'Connor, about a minute?
About that?
Why don't you throw on some commercial now so we can goof off for a minute, but then we'll have a minute on the other side.
All right, we'll do that.
Awesome.
You want a break now?
Yeah? Oh, okay.
Oh, you know what? This is Henry Mancini.
I know that. You know who sang this song? This is
This is from,
Paint Your Wagon.
yeah, or The Great Race.
No, Paint Your Wagon. And the one that sang this, it's really amazing. Clint Eastwood sang this song. Clint Eastwood. Nobody thinks of him as
What's the name of the song?
a Sweetheart Tree.
And it was Clint Eastwood.
Yep.
Wow. Maybe we can get him singing it.
I don't know.
It's got to be on YouTube.
Yeah, it is. From Paint Your Wagon. Okay, well, we'll see you guys on the other side. We're going to take a short break, and then we're going to dive into the Constitution, and we're going to see how smart we all are.
Fridays is the place to be 6:30 every Friday at various locations throughout the Valley. Trump Fridays is a fantastic way to meet people who share your political views. Our grassroots organization was started to bring people together for a single common goal: to re-elect Donald Trump in 2020. We can't sit back and wait for the Republican Party to do the work for us. We need to fight to save our America. So, if you can't make the meeting every week, know that we're there every Friday and drop in whenever you can. Trump Fridays.
Hi, I'm Dr. Bob Marshall, PhD, host of Healthline. Join me live and hear the latest breakthrough information for you and your family. This month, Quantum Digest is on special. It's the most purified USP plant enzymes. No matter what you eat, it has the power to support its digestion. Buy 2 bottles, get the third one free. Call 800-370-3447.
Come home to the gated community of Chrisman Peaks and 5,350 square feet of pure luxury. Floor plans include 5 bedrooms, 5 baths, 4-car garage, home theater, even guest quarters. Breathtaking views are included at no extra charge. For more information, call 602-505-0004. Custom homes with the quality you expect, the value you demand. Call 602-505-0004 today. It started 10 years ago as a conservative discussion group to combat leftist liberal ideas that were destroying the American way of life. Thus, the Arizona 2010 Project was born. Over the years, it grew and embraced the Tea Party and had a dynamic effect on local, state, and national elections. That's right, the political power of the movement has grown, and now, on its 10th birthday, the Arizona Project has moved to a bigger location and has expanded its vision. The Arizona Project is now producing podcasts, internet radio shows, video projects, along with the same history of obtaining impressive guest speakers and community leaders for our weekly meetings. The Arizona Project is now located at 3238 East Bell Road in Phoenix. For more information, call 602-677-1496. That's 602-677-1496. Please join us to promote the American values that have made this nation great and will continue to make it great. The Arizona Project, celebrating 10 phenomenal years.
I want to live better and do more for the environment. I just want to be healthy, but I don't even know where to start.
I just subscribed to an awesome magazine called Green Living with great tips, events, and recipes that help me go green and live healthy.
Green Living magazine will inspire you to make eco-conscious decisions for a healthy life and a healthy planet. Pick up Green Living today at Fry's, Whole Foods, and 500 other locations statewide. Or subscribe at greenlivingaz.com. Find us on Facebook, Pinterest, and Twitter. Live, work, and play green with Green Living magazine.
Well, welcome back. Well, we're finally through talking about the politics, and now we're going to get into the Constitution. But before we do, we mentioned about Trump Fridays, and we've got a little vignette here with Mr. Ray Michaels that he has done on our Street Talk. And Ray, why don't you tell us how you lined this up? This is a fantastic speaker.
Yeah, well, we were at Trump Fridays, and we just wanted to get an idea of some of the people that show up there, what their ideas are, how they came to really support our president, President Trump, and to have conservative ideas. So we got a wide variety of people who came in and wanted to be interviewed. So this is the first one. This is Teresa. Now you're going to find this quite surprising, but I've met Teresa many, many times at the Trump Friday, and I didn't have all of the details of her life, but well, watch this one. I think you're really going to like it. Well, hello everyone, and welcome back. It is Ray Michaels here for Street Talk. We are at Trump Fridays, and I'm here with the lovely Teresa. Hi, Teresa.
Hi, Ray. Hi,
Now-
everybody.
Now, Teresa and I met, well, a couple months ago. Right over here, and she said something to me that I thought was pretty amazing. So, everybody knows about this China virus, and you are from China.
Yes, I'm from China 11 years ago.
11 years ago. And what was the city?
Oh my God, Wuhan. And my family's still in Wuhan. My mom, my only brother, and his family is still there.
Now, how did you get all the way from China here to the United States?
It's tough, you know. It takes a long time to get a visa because America is a dream country for many people in the world. It's a beautiful country in the world. So many Chinese, they want to come here for freedom.
Well, now you came from a communist country. What do you think about when you see the news on what's going on here? Does this seem like the America that from the past?
It's different. You know, before I was not very into politics. I woke up, I started paying attention to politics since 2013. Yeah, and then when Donald Trump came along, and then I learned more about the American politics, make me realize, oh my God, there's a lot of problem here too.
Yeah, no.
Work on that.
Yeah, and almost that we're getting off the track.
Oh yeah. It's I have to say this, you know, I think we are in a very dangerous situation. We are just one step away from New World Order, which is a one world government.
Okay, so you came from China, you grew up in China, you come to America now, you see the freedoms that we have. Does it surprise you how some of the young people are just willing to give up these freedoms?
I am, and but I know where it come from, because you know, based on my understanding, the deep state control our education system. The leftists take over our education system. They brainwash our kids. You know, I think I don't think we should blame our kids. We should help them. We should educate our kids.
So you think the number one thing that we need to focus on, education. We need to educate our children how our government was formed, why it was formed, and the benefits of a capitalist society over a communist society.
Oh my God, that's really important. Very, very important. That's our future. Yes, I think every kids need to be educated, you know, and what is freedom, what is our rights and Constitution about. Yes.
It's all about the Constitution. Well, Teresa, thank you so much for joining us here. You are so lovely, and I know everybody enjoyed your personal experience with communism. So really, really take the time, study, learn about the upcoming election, and if you had to tell everybody at home right now just one important thing for the upcoming election, what would you say?
Okay, I would like to say that I think everybody need to take this election serious, you know, so it's about our future, and our country has been intruded by deep state. So we need to wake up and stand up, vote for Republican candidates, you know, defend our freedom.
Well, I could not have said that better. Thank you, Teresa. And thank you for joining us here for Street Talk. We are at the Trump Friday event. I'm Ray Michaels, your state senator, LD 24. And until next time, we'll see you real soon.
Wow, how neat. You know, I think people that are born in other countries have a greater appreciation about America than many Americans have.
Absolutely. And if you travel, if you see how the other countries are, it changes your whole perspective. You really appreciate this amazing country that we live in.
I mean, this gal, did you notice, she spent most of her life in China, and she talks about our country.
Yeah.
She is now
wonderful.
Strictly and totally an American.
She's an American.
And that's what America's about.
And there's no other place in the world that you can go, whether it's Germany, France, England, Italy, Greece, you will never be
a Greek,
an Italian. You'll never be a Greek.
Or
You'll never
a German.
No.
A
But
Brit.
here, no matter where you come from in the world, you can come here and be an American. which is, I think, just amazing.
It's a tremendous, tremendous story. Well, for those of you that are just tuning in at 7, and I'm sure there are a few of you that have, you will notice the names at the bottom of the page there, and that's Mr. Michaels, and he was our interviewer, if you couldn't tell. And then we have a gentleman here, Ben Wick, and I've known Ben for several years now, and he's brilliant. He has written a book. Why don't you
Yes. There it is.
show
right
this
there.
book? And we wanted him to talk about the Constitution because just as this young lady, Teresa, was talking about our country, so many of us that are born here have the documents that our founders put together that actually guide and protect us as citizens of this fantastic country. And we don't know a lot about it.
No.
So Ben's here to talk to us about it, and as you can probably see on your screen, he's got a lot of material. Let's jump in.
All right, thanks, Ron and Ray. That was a great interview with Teresa.
Yeah, pretty
I
amazing.
really enjoyed that. That brings me a story. I know Ron likes me to do this, but I'm not going to do this today. Maybe next time I come on with a Pledge of Allegiance. But when I was teaching U.S. history, the first year I did it, I realized, wait, we have this mandatory pledge. What am I going to do if a student doesn't want to do it? And I gave a little talk about it at the beginning of the school year, and I never once had a student refuse to say the pledge. In fact, I had foreign exchange students, one from Sweden and one from Finland, during the few years I was there. They both got up and said the Pledge of Allegiance. And I said, you know, you're from a different country. You don't have to pledge allegiance to America. And they said, no, we want to pledge allegiance to what America stands for.
Amazing.
And that's kind of what I'm going to talk about right now, this evening. And that is when I was first started to teach U.S. history. It took me many years before I was able to get a U.S. history teaching job. And when I did, and when I reached the part about the Constitution, I started to teach principles in the Constitution. I realized the kids were looking at me with blank stares on their faces, and they was like, "What are you talking about?" And I realized that they didn't have a frame of reference in their minds, in their backgrounds, to understand the principles of the Constitution. So I had to teach them those background issues. And ironically, the founders talked about these issues. Even after the Constitutional Convention, they said that this Constitution will only work for a particular type of people.
Right.
It's true.
And so we're going to talk about that a little bit. And I gave these guys a question before we started, and I want them to give me the answer, or an answer is what do they see as the major problem in America today? Ron?
I think
briefly,
the unity of purpose, the unity of purpose of a free country.
Okay, excellent.
I'm going to say one word: division.
Okay, so this is I've asked this question before of other groups throughout the years, and no one has ever said these two issues before, but because of what we're faced with today in America, this is a prevalent, and I'm glad you brought that up because I was trying to figure out how to work that in. But division.
No, he didn't. He didn't pay us, by the way.
So Ray
yet.
talked about division. Ron talked about unity, and both of those things have something in common. And that is people. That is people. And they have something else in common, which we'll get to. But I bring up the issue of people because Ron was talking about term limits before, and one of the things James Madison actually kind of addressed that issue. And he said the idea that that our elected leaders will be honest and truthful and have integrity without honesty, and integrity in the people who vote for them is a chimerical idea. That the people we elect are a reflection of the people that are voting for them. Mm-hmm. So the reason why term limits are problematic, for instance, I'll give you an example. I don't want to lose the audience. In Nancy Pelosi's district, they're already grooming her daughter to take her place. So if Nancy Pelosi's term limited out, the people who voted for Nancy Pelosi will vote for her daughter. So nothing will change. So it's not the representatives that need to change, it's the people that need to change. And it's because they don't understand what Teresa has come to learn about what does it mean to be an American.
Right.
And so we're going to talk a little bit about that right now. So another question that I want to throw out there for the audience to think about is, and Ray and Ron as well, is what came first in a society, morality or the law? What comes first? So you have a tribe or whatever, or a community, a city-state. Also, what came first? Being born with liberty or being born with government? What came first? All right, what else came first? What came first? America or the Constitution? Did America create the Constitution, or did the Constitution create America? So this is something that I faced with the kids I was teaching, or young adults as they like to be called.
These are kind of heady issues here.
So
I can see it both ways, but one obviously outweighs the other.
So I have a little illustration here, so bear with me as we adjust our set. So one of the things we're faced with today in America is the issue of unity and division. And the other commonality with unity and division, the other commonality with people is that you have to have something to be united around. Mm-hmm. You have to have a commonality, a common border, a common line of demarcation. And so what we did 40 years ago is we said we don't want any lines. When we play basketball or soccer or baseball or football, we don't want any lines on the field. There's no out of bounds. There's no borders. A boundaryless society. So what that created over the last 40 years is moral anarchy.
Right.
And the book of Judges talks about that at the end. In the Bible, it talks about every man did that which is right in their own eyes. Right. That's called moral anarchy. So what happens, though, is when everybody's living with moral anarchy, it creates social anarchy in our society. And that's what we're seeing today. The division, lack of unity, is because we have social anarchy today. And then once you have moral anarchy sliding into social anarchy with the destruction of our cities, that then slides into political anarchy. And that's a topic for another time as to where it goes from there. So what we want to talk about is the people. And what came first, America or the Constitution? So as Ron mentioned before, 1619 was when the Pilgrims came to America, one of the first groups. And so from about 1620 to 1770, 1780, 150 years approximately, the society in America grew and developed. And they developed a commonality, something that we can agree on, and something that we can unite around. And in our communities, in our churches, in our colonies. And so what they did is they started believing in certain ideas. And I still don't know who said this, but and many people quote it, and many people are attribute to it, but it said, ideas have consequences. And so the commonality of America is not a king. It's not even the Constitution. It's not a necessarily a geographic location. It is an ideology.
Right.
The ideology of America is what we're united around.
Yes.
But as Vladimir Lenin said, a nation that forgets its ideology and its heritage is easily manipulated.
Right.
And so these people in America for 150 years started developing these people right here. And you got to work around this. So these are the people. And they started developing based on certain ideas, one of which was absolute moral truth. They believed in an absolute moral truth that we can agree around. Now, if they didn't agree on a truth, they said, well, what is the truth of this subject that we can find? We have to find it. So they did. They found it. Absolute moral truth. The other thing they agreed on is that all men were created equal, which Ron alluded to earlier. That all lives matter. In fact, my daughter-in-law and 3 of my grandchildren are Black Lives Matter. They matter as well, and their white lives matter as well. But so the other idea is that all men are endowed with inalienable rights.
That's a big word.
Exactly. Inalienable means you are born with them. And that we can cover that on another class. Is that
God-given? Is that
yeah,
right? God-given
inalienable means you're born with them. That you're created with them. So anybody that talks about a right that has to do with another human being, that's not an inalienable right. Because last time I checked, no one was born with you. Now, you know, even if you were twins, you didn't come out at the same time.
Right.
All right, so the other idea is they developed what they call consent of the governed. And they were used to voting not only for the city mayors, but they were used to voting for their pastors of their churches. Most of them were congregational churches. And they were used to voting for their legislators in the colonies. Now, a lot of them didn't get to vote for their governors. They were appointed by the king. But they were used to voting on things and having self-determination. And it's called consent of the governed. But above all, what they started believing is they started seeing themselves as citizens instead of subjects.
Right.
A big, big distinction. Citizens instead of subjects. And so that is when King George sat up and said, whoa, wait a minute. Time out. We need to rope these people in. Right? They were paying taxes. They were providing a lot of income for England. But they started seeing themselves as citizens and not subjects of the king.
Yeah,
and that was the problem.
And this wasn't going on back in England. They
Well,
didn't have this idea.
Well, the idea actually started in England with the Glorious Revolution, with John Locke and William of Orange, and it was progressing, but it was kept kind of under wraps, so to speak. I just came across an interesting document from 1722 in England dealing with that very issue, but that's again for another time. So these people realized that now the king was starting to push them down, subjugate them. And so they said, well, we need to do something. We need to create something to secure and protect this society that we have created. And so that's when they got together and had a constitutional convention, and they created the Constitution to secure and protect these people and these ideas. And they said that together with these ideas we can be strong. and no one can defeat us. In fact, I have a quote here. I was wondering how I was going to get this in. By Daniel Webster. He says, "There's no nation on earth powerful enough to accomplish our overthrow. Our destruction, should it come at all, will be from another quarter, from the inattention of the people," there's that issue again, the people, "to the concerns of their government, from their carelessness and negligence. I must confess that I do apprehend with some danger. I fear that they may place too implicit a confidence in their public servants and fail properly to scrutinize their conduct, that in this way they may be made the dupes of designing men and become the instruments of their own defeat." So, these people were strong. And in fact, shortly after the Constitutional Convention, it wasn't maybe one generation, as Ronald Reagan would say, and they started trying to tear this down. And they did it for 100 years, and they finally realized that changing the Constitution, which they did, they called them the Progressive Amendments, 16, 17, 18, 19, and they found out, hey, we're not getting any traction on this. So they said, what we need to do is turn these people into these people. So from around 1720, the progressive movement started with Woodrow Wilson, and they said, we need to turn these people into these people. Or as one man said recently, to fundamentally transform these people into these people. So, the solution has been, over the last 10 years, is we need to teach these people the Constitution. So, people have been running around, myself included, trying to teach these people the Constitution. But what I found out is, it doesn't work for these people. And then I realized, wait a minute, that's what James Madison said, that's what John Adams said. That's what all of the founders said, is they said, this Constitution will only work for these people. So we could teach the Constitution to every single human being on earth, but if they're not these people, that country will be dysfunctional. It will never work. So what we need to do is turn these people, well, there's two things that can be done. Actually, the one side who wants to fundamentally transform and has done that, right? They've fundamentally transformed. Ray asked Teresa that. Why are our kids not believing? Why are our kids not this? This is what I found. They're not this. I had to teach them to be this. And so Teresa said, yeah, we need to teach them to be this. That's what we have to do. So, but the other side says, no, we want them to be this. So what do we want? We want to create a new government, right? That's what they said, fundamentally transform it. But right. What do we lose here? We lose this.
Individuality.
And we lose
personal rights.
Consent of the governed. We lose liberty. We lose absolute truth, right? So this is not the way we have to go. What we have to do is turn these people back into these people so that we can once again fit into the Constitution. This Constitution was only made for a moral people based on a common moral value system, right? But we've thrown out that common moral value system. So,
but we got music happening here, but I see exactly what you mean.
Right.
And I see now that there's constructionists like you and myself, the three of us. We believe that the document says what it says, and it means what it means. There are others that say, well, that was 250 years ago, and it doesn't mean that today, and that's what's wrong.
Well, see, and the critical dividing line, that border, is absolute truth.
Okay, tell you what, we're going to be back in just a moment. We're going to hear from a few words, and then I think we've got another video with Ray stealing the show again with I don't know which girl this is this time.
We'll see.
Anyway, he's got women all over the place. We'll see you on the other side.
Wild Tiger right here in Phoenix. Whoa, big fella. Is reminding everyone to please give blood. By doing so, you may save the life of a child, surgery patient, or an accident victim. So give blood. It's safe, it's simple, and it's needed. That message courtesy of Wild Tiger at 2631 North Central Avenue in Phoenix, where they invite you in to enjoy the finest authentic Thai cuisine like Si Penang, Pad Thai, and ginger fish. Stop it or call 602-241-8995 for carryout. Wild Tiger is on the air because they care.
Camelback Toyota, located conveniently on 16th Street in Camelback, off the 51 freeway, easy to get to right here in the city. You work downtown, stop on your way home, take a look at some beautiful new cars, used cars. Derek and John O'Malley Jr. and my mechanics in the back, Abe and Jereb and Tom, my man Jake, Felix, John Wicks is there, Levi. They are trained and trained heavily. They know everything backwards and forwards on any Toyota. Customer satisfaction numero uno at Camelback Toyota.
Trump Fridays is the place to be 6:30 every Friday at various locations throughout the Valley. Trump Fridays is a fantastic way to meet people who share your political views. Our grassroots organization was started to bring people together for a single common goal, to re-elect Donald Trump in 2020. We can't sit back and wait for the Republican Party to do the work for us. We need to fight to save our America. So, if you can't make the meeting every week, know that we're there every Friday and drop in whenever you can. Trump Fridays.
Flynn's Flowers knows what the kid in you really wants.
Hey, hold it down.
The Flynn's Flowers snack pack is the perfect gift for anyone.
Thanks, this is just what I need.
Great. Now how about a kiss?
Don't push it.
Get a room.
The snack pack has cookies, chips, pudding, nuts, and lots of other goodies.
What's a goodie?
Read your script, kid.
See the snack pack live on the Flynn's Flowers website at flynnsflowers.net. Order a snack pack today for that special.
Thank you.
Or send a snack pack to someone in the military. That's flynnsflowers.net. Flynn's Flowers, the official florist of Air America Phoenix. The Flynn's Flowers snack pack. It's almost too big to eat.
These are great. Got any more?
What's that, number 9?
flynnsflowers.net. Order a snack pack today and charge it.
Want a sucker?
Bubblegum?
That's flynnsflowers.net.
Can I get a snack pack?
It's coming, and it's coming fast. Hungry for something new in the fast food industry? Tired of stale hamburgers, fries that taste like wallpaper paste when cold? High-priced fatty foods that even a dog won't eat? Well, something new is coming, and it's coming fast. The Meatball Express. Say what? The Meatball Express. Pure and wholesome beef, pork, chicken, turkey, or even shrimp meatballs topped with your favorite gravy. Red sauce garnish or served with hot, fresh garlic bread. The Meatball Express.
Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're here with Ray Michaels and our very, very special guest today, and that's Ben Wick. And we've been learning a lot about the Constitution, and it amazes me. I've listened to Ben talk before groups, and it's spellbinding because we think as adults we know about the founding of our nation. We think we know much of the Constitution and what there is to know, and it's quite surprising once Ben brings this to our attention that we really don't know as much as we thought we knew.
Well, and Ben reminds us that, these are words. These are words on a piece of paper, but you have to know why they were written and what prompted them to be written, and it's really from the heart. I mean, we have to change the heart of people.
Yes. In fact, Benjamin Franklin said that if we lose the hearts and minds of the people, our republic is lost. And I would say right now we have lost the hearts and minds of two generations.
I think we've got that, and I think it's because, quite frankly, Americans have it too good, I mean, we have almost everything we need. And I talk to people in other countries, and I talk about the monies that our kids have. The teenagers have cars and cell phones. I mean, I know kids that are 10 years old and even have, several $100 cell phones.
You know, when they used to come over here to America and they would observe them, the biggest comment, and I forget who this was, but he went back and he said, the people in America truly care about each other. They care. It's not a self.
Yeah, that's the Tocqueville.
Yeah, he said that they're not being selfish. They're selfless. They're helping one another out. They care about each other. And that was so different because you didn't see that anywhere else in the world at the time. It truly is the heart.
Yes.
Yeah.
Listen, before we go on, we've promised some of the fans of Street Talk, and of course, Mr. Ray Michelson. He's got all these lady admirers here, and I think we have. Which
you have another one set up? Yes, this is Valerie.
Valerie, okay. Now watch Mr. Michaels in action.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Street Talk. It is Ray Michaels, and we are here at the Trump Friday event. We're here with the lovely Valerie.
Hello.
Now, Valerie, this is your first time here at Trump Fridays?
Yes, I just heard about it today.
Well, Valerie and I have known each other for a little while now, and I invited Valerie to come on out here and to see how wonderful all the Trump supporters are. Have you found that to be the case?
Oh, very much so. As a matter of fact, when I went inside to sit at the bar area, I sat next to this lovely woman, and she just started talking to me right away about politics.
And you're not used to that.
No, heavens no. I vote. I've been voting for a very long time, but I never talk about politics with anyone.
Well, Valerie's been
very new.
Valerie's been in the entertainment industry for many, many years. Very, very talented singer, dancer, actress, the whole 9 yards.
Sure. Yeah. Well, yes.
In fact, many of you may have seen Valerie because she used to work at Old Tucson Studios.
Yes, and also Rawhide, the one in Scottsdale, and when it moved to Chandler.
And you've been in some movies?
Well, a few. My claim to fame is not as an actress in a film, but I worked on the set of the movie Tombstone. And I finally eventually met Val Kilmer, who played the role of Doc Holliday, who should have been nominated for an Oscar. Anyway.
Well, have you always had a conservative type view?
Yes, all my life I have been conservative.
Well, that must have been hard being in the entertainment industry, because I know I was in the entertainment industry as well. Yeah. When you talk about conservatism, there's not a lot of colleagues that you'd work with that follow what you believe.
Actually, the shows I've done, the performing I've done, politics is never brought up.
Well, it can't be brought up.
Well, it so rarely was.
So here we are. We're having a great time. DNC, did you watch any of the DNC convention?
No, I was channel hopping and stopped for about 3 or 4 seconds for a few days. And something I noticed right away is how whoever was speaking was imploring the listeners to get out and vote. And I sat there and thought, yes. Then I thought, well, who are we all going to vote for? And that, of course, is our main concern.
So, so you're going to be out voting. I know that you are.
Yes.
And can you
I'm
tell
going to
me?
vote for you.
Well, that's right. I am right. Yes, you're in my district.
State Senate in the district in Arizona.
So, can you name one conservative aspect that hits you personally?
Oh, yes. Abortion. Something I remember years ago a friend of mine saying, and it just stuck with me, is that you have people who are pro-abortion, but they are dead set against wearing fur. So it sounds like to me they're all right with killing an animal. They are not all right, I beg your pardon, with killing an animal, but they're perfectly fine with killing a human being. And 2 weeks after conception, there is a heartbeat. So there's no mistaking it. There's a human being growing inside of a woman. And it's terribly wrong when they make the choices that they do, you know.
Well, thank you. I can see that's very emotional for you too. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, anything that you look at from a conservative aspect, whether it's personal accountability, responsibility, whether it's freedom to own property, freedom to own anything, our Bill of Rights, our Constitution, it's also very important. You don't want any of that to be chipped away, including that very, very important topic. So, Valerie, thank you so much for joining us here today. This
You're
is
welcome,
wonderful.
Ray.
We had many, many conversations. So it's never been that conversation.
We met 3 years ago.
Anyway, we thank you so much for joining us here at El Capo for Trump Fridays. It's Ray Michaels, your state Senate candidate for LD 24, and we're here at Street Talk.
Vote for Ray Michaels.
Anyway, until next time, we'll see you real soon.
Oh, Ray, you just have a way with those
Oh,
women.
I am
You have
so-
them eating out of your hand.
No,
My goodness.
it's just
wow. Is she going
it's
to
hard to
vote
watch.
for you? And, my goodness.
Well, I want everybody to vote for me.
Of course, I would if I was in your district. I wanted to make a comment about her comment about life. And we can talk about that a little bit as well, and the constitutionality of aborting babies. But I recently read an article, and I thought, I've never looked at an abortion the way that I did. An abortion denies you, or the aborted fetus, of everything.
Yes. Yes.
Everything.
Here, you want to hear an interesting story? This will create a little bit of waves. I had lots of posters and sayings from our founders on my walls. My classroom was almost covered completely with posters and sayings and things like that. And I had a bumper sticker that I had right above my head. And it said, "Smile, your mother chose life."
Yes.
Wow.
And it remained there for 4 years before a parent complained about it at parent-teacher conference. So
What was the complaint?
they found it was offensive. So I got called into the principal's office the next day or a couple days later.
I hate when that happens.
So she told me, Ben, this parent found your bumper sticker on the wall offensive, and we'd really like you to take it down. And I said, well, okay, but I would just like to know what about it they found offensive. Was it mothers? Was it the ability to choose? Or was it life that they didn't like? Or was it smiling that they didn't like? And she said, well, it's the message. Again, now we're back at ideas have consequences.
And it gets back to the very thing you said about the moral people.
Right. Okay, so here's the other the rest of the story. So I was more than happy to take the bumper sticker down, because on the door of my cabinet, just as you left the classroom, was a 2-foot by 3-foot poster of the ultrasound of a fetus. And right underneath was those very words you just said, Ron. I have been endowed by my Creator with life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, but without life, all other rights don't matter.
Exactly.
And that was okay.
Well, they didn't say anything about that.
Wow. And you know, how many would you say at a parent-teacher type meeting like that, over the time that you were in, I mean prior to this, how many parents would you have met over that period of time?
You mean up till that point? In
Right.
the years?
Right.
I see where Ray's going with.
Well, I was a coach, so I interacted very closely with a lot of parents.
Hundreds.
In that regard, yes.
Hundreds. So
unfortunately, some of the schools I taught at parent-teacher conferences, not very many parents showed up.
Okay, but I guess my point is, you met hundreds of people have come through, parents, and everything was fine.
That had no problem with
Oh,
it.
right.
But one person, everything had to change because one person
Yes.
felt offended.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
you could have said to her, "I'm offended that you're offended."
Yes.
And then which offense
exactly
trumps the other one?
And this is another one of the two of the issues that three of the issues I addressed the first day of school was one was the pledge, two was the concept of absolute truth, and the third thing was that you don't have a constitutional right not to be offended. There is no constitutional right, and I said, in fact, you have a constitutional right, it's called the freedom of speech, to say things that offend you.
Right.
That
is free speech.
It's not there for speech that you agree with. You wouldn't have to put that in the Constitution.
Right.
Everybody would agree with it. But, and there's a phrase that was used by a Supreme Court ruling back in the 40s, and I can't remember exactly the concept, but the concept was nullification by being offended. That is not a constitutional right. It was declared by the Supreme Court. So, and your point is well taken, that if it just takes one person to be offended, then everybody would sit there completely silent, without interacting with another human being,
Right.
and being a robot doing their job. Oh, wait a minute. Isn't that what they're trying to do to us right now? Isn't that called social distancing and putting a muzzle on us?
Right. Mask.
I call it
distancing.
socialist distancing.
Now, listen, ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to tell you the discussion that we're having now on our show, Fighting Back Wednesday. You're going to be very, very excited. We're going to have a person that survived an abortion. The child, of course, is an adult now, will tell about what it was like to be aborted, I guess. I'm not sure they have a memory of that, but I would think that the thing that would be so devastating is the fact that your parents didn't want you.
Well,
I
I
mean,
guess
I can't
God. I
believe
guess God had other plans. But you know what? In Virginia right now, and I believe in New York as well, that he may not be here today. He or she, I don't know. Is it a he or she?
She.
She may not be here today if she lived in Virginia.
You know, they throw the fetus, the aborted fetus, on the table, and just
Keep it comfortable until it dies.
All right, here.
And Bonnie, maybe we'll have you on sometime.
Dr. Bonnie.
Dr. Bonnie. Ben's married to a doctor, and
we have a live audience.
We might have her on here to talk about this, because it's a terrible thing. I don't know that you could get any more specific than life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Without life, as you said, all the other rights are gone. But even more than that, there are two of the greatest things that God gave us, is one, life, and the other is our ability to adjust our lives the way we want them to be, the freedom to be who we want to be.
Liberty.
It's the liberty, yes.
Yeah, and somebody could fact check this if they're more astute than I am. But I read an article back in 2008 during the presidential election, and you guys are very relaxed and telling jokes and stuff like that, and I'm kind of like I'm a little too serious, but
we'll lighten you up.
So I was a U.S. history teacher. There was a government teacher at the school I was teaching at, and the student council, and in fact he was in charge of student council. They decided that they wanted to do a little thing at the fall assembly in conjunction with the election in 2008. So since I was the sponsor of the Republican Club and the other gentleman was a sponsor of the Democratic Club on campus, they got masks of the candidates who were running. It was John McCain and Barack Obama. And so we had to wear these masks, and then they had these wagons, and they were out on the football field, and we had to race and pull the wagon for 50 yards with this stinking mask on, right? And so
it sounds like every day now.
Yeah.
Needless to say, as you mentioned before, I'm a wrestling coach, so I'm in shape. So we won. But one of the things that I found in studying the candidate, in fact, there was an article in the Chicago Tribune in 2008, it was actually in 2006 when he was running for Senate, that was entitled, "Who is this man?" And I printed it out and I gave it to everybody in my club. And it would expose exactly who he was.
Right.
They said who he was, but nobody wanted to hear that in 2008. But back when he was a state senator in Illinois, a nurse...
We're talking about Obama, ladies and gentlemen.
At the Chicago hospital, she got so troubled because she was working in the abortion part that they would take these botched abortion babies and put them in a closet and let them die. And so this was about the time when they were doing a lot of what they call Born Alive Acts, and a lot of state legislators were passing these. So in the state of Illinois, she worked hard to get that bill presented at the state legislature. And the state legislature, both houses passed it, and the governor signed it, the Born Alive Act, that if a baby was born alive, you had to let it live. And there was only
from a botched abortion.
There was only one state senator who voted against the bill, and that was Barack Hussein Obama. The only human being holding office who voted against the Born Alive Act. That tells you the heart of that man.
Wow.
Well, I've always said that he was inhumane and a wicked person. And, of course, he's a Democrat, ladies and gentlemen. You know how I feel about things like that. The value system is not the same. Republicans, there are a few that are not necessarily pro-life, but I would certainly say the Republican Party is the pro-life party.
Yes, at this point in time it is. And, we took the break at the point where we were talking about truth, and that truth is the border. Truth is the issue. If you look at every single thing we face, division and unity, black and white, whatever issue you see, police brutality versus supporting the police, every issue comes down to truth, the issue of truth.
So is truth relative?
Well,
because that's the narrative right now. Truth is relative.
That's
your truth may not be my truth.
Right. So there's a couple of ways you can look at that. One is if I say what is true for you, if you say A is true and B is false, and I say B is true and A is false, so what we've just agreed on is that both A and B are both true and they're both false at the same time. Well, guess what? You can't live your life based on that. You cannot have a coherent society. You cannot even exist on your street, in your neighborhood that way. If your neighbor believes that it's okay for them to put a block wall right next to your driveway, and yet the property line, the truth is right here, and you're saying, well, wait a minute. And they say, well, this is my truth.
Right.
This is my truth. And so the other thing I would tell the kids, I said, now look, when you get to college, they're going to tell you that there's no such thing as absolute truth. And I'm going to tell you something that you can say in class, but two things, at least two things will happen to you. Number one, the professor will get angry. Number two, they could throw you out of class, or they could flunk you, and most absolutely they will grade you down. I mean, they made a movie sort of about this called God Is Not Dead.
Right.
And you saw how the professor treated that young man. They will treat you the same way if you say there is absolute truth. So when the professor gives up and they may write on the board, there is no absolute truth, you raise your hand and they call on you and they say yes, and I said, are you absolutely sure?
Brilliant.
And they can't answer the question. So here's the issue. If you notice that the progressives were very happy people from 08 to 16. Because when you believe in relative truth, well, there's absolute moral truth. So your absolute moral truth can be determined by three ways. And those three ways are, number one, The bully on the playground determines my truth is everyone's truth. And they enforce it. That's called a tyrant, a dictator. The other way, which our kids are being brainwashed to believe, is that 51% can determine what is your morality. So, in fact, the candidate in 2016, Hillary Clinton, made that exact statement. Our morality is determined by our legality. So what is legal then is what is moral. So as long as we win the election, we can vote the laws to make our morality.
Right.
So what happens there is...
I won, you lost.
Yes. So what happens there is that morality changes with the election. And so if your worldview says that if we win the election, that means we determine what is good and what is bad. And since we won, we're good, and you lost, you're bad.
Right.
So that is their worldview. You win the election, you're good. You lose the election, you're bad. So what happened in 2016? They had a choice. Either say, okay, my worldview is wrong, or I have to...
Which would make them bad.
Which would make them, or I have to admit that I'm bad. So that's why they're angry.
Yeah.
So they were actually, by 2016, they were getting angrier, because what happens is when you believe in that worldview, it doesn't work.
Right.
It doesn't work. So for 8 years, they were in power, and they instituted their policies and tried to fundamentally transform America, and it wasn't working, right? It wasn't working economically. It wasn't working society. It wasn't working at all. And so they were angry. They were upset because it's not working. And it's not their fault. It's your fault. And they go, well, wait a minute. You're not even passing anything that I vote for. How is it my fault?
Yeah.
Right? No, they had to admit it's their fault.
But it was based on a lie.
It was based on a lie. Again, the book of Romans chapter 1 says they exchanged the truth of God for the lie of the deceiver. And so in 2016, they lost the election, and so they get angry when they win because their programs don't work. They get angry when they lose because they have to admit they're bad and evil people. Or they have to throw out their worldview. So their entire that's why they're so upset now, is because they don't know what to do.
And they're pretty angry.
They are pretty angry.
And they have no, I listened to all of this, and I've tried to come up with some policy that they came up with. I couldn't find any
anti-Trump policy.
Well, the Trump derangement system, as we all know, they just don't like Trump. No matter what he does, it's wrong.
So, Ronnie, I just want to tell them, the book is called The Battle for America, Restoring Virtue in the Soul of America. And that's exactly what we're talking about, the heart, the soul. Ben Wick, a wonderful book. Where can you find this book? Do you have it available anywhere?
I have all of the copies that now exist are in a box in my office at home.
And they're valuable because they're so valuable. You have to keep them in a box in your office.
No, because I'm very poor at marketing.
Well, you can actually come here to the office.
I put some on your book rack here.
Yeah, awesome. So you should get this. It's such a fantastic book. Talks about exactly what you've been talking about today.
Listen, I hear the music, and that means it's time to go. Ben, I want you to come back next week if you're able to. And what I would like you to do at home, this is pretty heady stuff. You need a pencil and paper to start going through some of these things and write some of these concepts down. They're easy to do, but we don't think that way, unfortunately. It's a different way of thinking about the future and what's going on. Gosh, I'd like to thank you, Ben.
Is there any way that anybody watching can send in a question? Can they send questions for Ben?
Well, they probably could, but they can't right now because we're running out of time.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so next week I will be in Oregon, in the People's Republic of Oregon. Pray for me.
Next Monday?
Next Monday.
Okay, so you will not be here.
But in 2 weeks, I will be here Labor Day. 2 weeks. I will be here Labor Day if we're meeting. And maybe we can set up where people can text you questions.
I'll put it in the notices that we
figure out how to do that. Don't ask me how to do that.
Yeah. Okay, we'll ask Mr. O'Connor. He's good at that. We'd like to thank Mr. O'Connor. We'd like to thank Neil for being here, and of course,
Neil,
Dr. Wick.
Thank you, our studio audience.
And our studio audience. We'll see you all next week.